dear friends and colleagues. Sometimes when we work in venues such as convention centers, hotel ballrooms, and so forth, we have to work from booths that are not permanently installed, but these portable kind of booths that the technicians take to the event. And this is very good and very handy, and most of those booths are comfortable and they're roomy and you can use them with no trouble. However, a lot of times we have a problem with the temperature inside the booth. Sometimes some of our colleagues complain that the venues are very cold and that it's cold inside the booth. Strangely enough, this usually happens in places such as Las Vegas, Honolulu, Dubai, Phoenix, places where the temperature is usually very warm and they kind of overcompensate inside the venue. But that can be taken care of easily. You just have to wear an extra coat or an extra jacket, and usually that is good enough. The real problem, in my opinion, is when you show up to one of these booths and the booth is hot. And the booth could be hot for many different reasons. Sometimes, because these are temporary booths, once that you're in the booth, you realize that your field of vision doesn't show you all of the stage, but only part of it. In other words, you're partly blocked. And this could be because of the shape of the room or just because there are way too many interpreting booths and you just had the lucky draw to be one of the ones that are towards one of the ends, and then your vision is partially obstructed. Or some other times it's because they set the booths on the wings of the stage and you can see the stage, but you can see it from the side, and therefore you don't see the whole thing. And in these different situations, the tendency is to compensate by installing a monitor inside the booth, because that way you can really see everything that is happening, which is really valuable for your rendition. But that generates heat inside the booth. Sometimes this is not a problem when you are doing some remote interpreting from the next door room or upstairs or downstairs, where you have all the setting has all the booths next to each other, and then you have the monitors outside the booth, big screens for everybody to share, or at least to have exclusively for each one of the booths, but outside the booth. But in the first scenarios that I gave you, usually you get the monitor inside the booth, and this generates a lot of heat, especially when you factor in the situation when, besides that monitor, you may have a couple of tablets or laptops for you and your colleague that are working the event, and then you have one or two lamps that they have installed there for you to use. Well, the lamp situation can be taken care of just by turning them off. I personally prefer to have it off, unless because of the situation, because of the location of the booth, you have no choice but to turn it on because it's too dark inside. But even so, you still have a problem. Now, the most common solution is to install an AC, an air conditioning device inside the booth. And this is great, and I am very glad they do this. It certainly is much better than having nothing there and just asking you to take your coat off, or to have a fan in there that is just getting all your papers flying all over the place, and it just makes noise when it faces you, and it really doesn't cool anything. It just removes the air inside the booth. But when you're talking about the air conditioning, this is a great solution, provided that A, it's not obstructing or distracting you from your job because it's noisy. Two, that it's one of those silent ones that really can, where you can really control the temperature because it has a thermostat. And three, that it really works and you have a technician there that is ready to help and fix any problems or adjust any temperature for you. This is very important because that's the only way that we can be comfortable in the booth. And sometimes you have to be in there for up to 3 hours without any breaks. And having the body heat from two individuals and all these other devices in there could be very, very uncomfortable. When you are backstage and when you are on the wings or you're in another room, if the booth gets too hot, well, you can dress accordingly, especially if it's the second day and you already know how hot it's going to be. But when the booths are these portable temporary booths, but they are in plain view, then you have to observe a certain dress code, and that's what makes it even much more important to have a good air conditioning. So, my friends, I tell you, when you talk to the venue, when you talk to the technicians, and depending on where this is going to take place, especially if it's a hotel ballroom or a convention center, please make sure, and if it's during the summer at the place where you're working, please make sure that you ask about the air conditioning. Make sure that it's the kind of air conditioning that will help instead of hurt the interpretation. And please show up perhaps the day before or early in the morning before the event and test it to make sure not just that it's working and that it's cooling down the booth, but also that it's not going to be obtrusive at the time of your rendition or your colleague's rendition. This is very important. So keep an eye on the AC. That will always help. At least that is my opinion. Thank you very much.